Jonathan Shrager here for WOE TV. I'm here today with Tough 19 middleweight winner, Eddie Truck Gordon. How are we doing today, Eddie?
Oh man, doing great, can't complain. Got beautiful weather here in Dublin, so it's a win-win situation.
Absolutely, and we're literally staring at the arena where the fights are going to take place on Saturday night. What do you yourself know of Conor McGregor now? I mean, he's a very charismatic bloke. Are you excited to see his progression in the UFC?
Oh, I'm really excited, man. This is going to be, I think, one of the biggest events to happen in Ireland. The tickets sold out in 35 minutes. Conor McGregor, he talks the talk. Now he has a chance to back it up. He won me over his last fight, For a guy to fight with a torn ACL, 2 rounds and still throw kicks and still be aggressive, that says a lot about a guy's character and his heart. So it's going to be exciting.
Absolutely, and then obviously moving on to yourself now. Very recently, very impressive display there in the Tough 19 final to be crowned the champion. You won via TKO in the first round versus Diego Lima. I mean, you were obviously. It's difficult to perform at your highest level during the show, but then in the final there, you really did showcase what you're all about, didn't you?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Like the biggest thing that most people don't understand is that the show is a tournament style, so it's tough to let it all hang out, especially when you're talking about other high level athletes and fighters that want it just as bad as you. Everybody wants to finish. That would be great, but unfortunately, you can't get it all the time. But being in a tough finale, you're back home, you're with your regular trainers who know you inside out, you get a full camp to prepare, and it's just that confidence, and then you're able to showcase all your abilities. So I feel like that's who I am as a fighter, and there's going to be a lot more of that to come, and just set new goals and just keep the ball moving.
Lovely. And then obviously your trainer during the show, Frankie Edgar, you must have had an affiliation with him prior, because obviously you train out of Serra-Longo in the New Jersey area or New York area. So obviously there's that affiliation there, because Frankie's from around that area as well. So was it did you feel like you had that kind of home comfort away from home sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a fair statement. Being part of the Gracie family, and Matt and Frankie kind of cross training is definitely a bonus, and it helps because we can't reach out to anybody on the show. We're kind of isolated from the world, but they can contact our coaches and kind of get a feel for that. Plus, going from one short Italian to another short Italian is always a good thing, and just like that East Coast swagger and that mentality is easy to get along with. And Frankie is a hard worker. That's like one thing that it's really hard to change your fighting style in 6 weeks and adapt to some new coaching. But the one thing, if you know Frankie Edgar, is his cardio. He pushes that to a limit. So just to add that into my game, I think was like just a huge benefit, because not the best skilled guy doesn't always win, but if you're in the top shape and you can push a pace and nonstop and be relentless, that's going to be a huge asset that many people are going to fold under that pressure. So Frankie being, Frankie was awesome.
Yeah. And do you think now Frankie will go on to be crowned the featherweight champion within his next 1 or 2 fights?
I think without a doubt, man. That guy is very, very, very competitive. I thought I was a competitive person, but after being around him for 6 weeks, it kind of took it to a whole nother level. And he's got a lot left in the tank. Like, especially him dropping down to the weight. Like, he's been fighting bigger, stronger guys his whole career. And he was able to beat a legend. And for him to finish Gary Maynard, who I think is a stud and a big, strong 55-pounder that doesn't get much bigger and stronger than him, and now he's in his natural weight. It's even, I'll say, because I'm very outspoken, but I feel like he won that Aldo fight. That was a very close fight. Aldo, without a doubt, won those early rounds, but those championship rounds, I thought it was easy to see. And I think Aldo's one of the pound-for-pound best guys in the world. So I feel like he's right there in line. And after that performance versus BJ Penn, I feel like he's right there. He's nipping at the tails of the champ again.
Absolutely, and then obviously well documented that you train. Well, you're one of Chris Weidman's main training partners. The undisputed middleweight champ of the world. I mean, what can we say about the guy? Beat Anderson Silva twice, just beat Lyoto Machida. First off, obviously, it must be, in terms of improving your game, it must take you to the next level. And second of all, your aspirations, therefore, within the middleweight division moving forward for yourself as well.
Oh, without a doubt. Like I'm very, very fortunate. I got great training partners. I get to train with the best guy in the world, and what a lot of people don't realize is how good he really is. He's not flashy. You're not going to see these crazy, exotic spinning elbows and this and that, but it's effective. The pressure that he puts on fighters, and the best part is there's no easy days in the gym. Like, he doesn't know anything but 110%. So, like, when we're sparring and training, he's trying to kill me and break me. So for me, that's just a huge, huge advantage when I step in the cage, because they're not Chris Weidman. And so it doesn't matter who gets put in front of me. I have that confidence. I know where I stand in the division. And it's just huge being able to train. I feel like my growth just goes, above the average person, because I get to train with, high level guys, because you're only as good as your training partners. So for me, I got Ray Longo, Matt Serra, Eric Heyer, Chris Weidman, great teammates that constantly push me. So I'm just very, very confident. I'm a confident person regardless, so that just kind of puts it over the edge.
Okay, I mean, and I don't want to put you in an awkward position, but obviously, you're both middleweights. You're evidently a talented bloke. You're only going to improve and move up the division. It's one of those questions that recurrently gets brought up in MMA, teammates fighting each other, but I imagine you've created a strong rapport and bond with Chris outside of fighting as well, so presumably something you want to avoid if that ever arose.
Yeah, see, the biggest difference between me and Chris and most of these other fighters is that they met each other by starting to fight. I've known Chris my whole life. Like, the reason I got into this sport is because of him. Like, literally, I know the kid since we were in 6th grade. Like, we traveled across the country. His dad took us, upstate New York to wrestle. We were teammates in high school. And the only reason I ever started fighting was because I ran into him in the gym, and he started telling me what he was doing. He said, listen, you have a great wrestling background. Come check this sport out. So it's a big difference. Like, we're not just training partners. We're more of like family. Like, if that ever came down to that case, I feel like Chris is going to clean out the division. Like, the guys at the top, I feel like he's going to beat everybody and eventually maybe move on to 205. If he doesn't and he wants to stay at 185, that's his home. He's a champ for a reason. I'll go to 205, even if I'll even go to 170. It doesn't matter. Like, that's just the mentality. I feel like whatever I put my mind to, I'm going to do and be able to do. And that's the only reason I'm in this sport, is to be the champion. So it's not like, it's almost like the Daniel Cormier and Cain Velasquez. Like, they have a different relationship than many other fighters. If we ever crossing that road, that means it's a good thing. We're both doing really well in our careers. That's always definitely a bonus as well. But like I said, 205, I'll be comfortable fighting there. I'll be comfortable fighting at 170. Be a lot of discipline, a lot of dieting, but I promise you, I won't be on any shows for 170, making weight 3-4 times at 170. That would never happen. But for a fight every 2-3 months, 170 shouldn't be a problem. I just have to be more diet, strict diet, and that's only going to help me as a fighter.
Absolutely, and I was just going to mention, you mentioned the other people at the top of the division there, who Chris is going to potentially face next. Obviously, the kind of popular vote, the general consensus is people want him to face Vitor. Yeah. Obviously, there's some complications there with performance-enhancing substances and what have you. Does Chris beat Vitor Belfort irrespective of what performance-enhancing drugs he's on?
I'm very biased, obviously, but I'm also a realist. Like, I feel like the toughest test for Chris would have probably been Lyoto Machida, because of his unique style. It's very hard to simulate that in sparring. Belfort is, you don't have to say it. Like, his body of work speaks for itself. The guy's a legend. Chris is a legend killer, though, man. Like, literally, he's like knocking out all these these phenomenal fighters because of his mentality. I feel like deep down in my heart, if he fights Vitor, which it will happen, I know Chris wants to fight him very bad. He's the kind of person that it doesn't matter what Vitor's on, or because I feel like it's just more mental than anything. Like, it's just, I don't see anybody beating that guy right now because of his will, his competitive edge, and Vitor will be very, very dangerous in the first round. But I just feel like the longer the fight goes, the smaller chance that Vitor has, because people don't know Chris has a chin and a half, and that's Vitor's bread and butter. Like, his explosion, his power. But that will fall right into Chris's hands. If he explodes and Chris takes him down, the fight's over. Like, that's going to be Vitor's worst nightmare, to have that guy on top of him. And I feel like that's going to take away from his striking. So, and Chris just stood and struck with Lyoto Machida. Like, come on, who ever probably thought that would happen? He stood with Anderson Silva, the two most elite stand-up guys there is, and Machida doesn't walk away from many fights with bumps and bruises on his face. And after that fight, I think, the body of work speaks for itself.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was just going to say, on a sort of ending note, I mean, you obviously spend a lot of time with, very renowned personalities within MMA, legends of the sport, really, that's fast becoming. Frankie Edgar, Chris Weidman. Is there anything you can tell us about those two that maybe the everyday MMA fan doesn't know from spending time with them day in, day out? Something quirky about them, or a hobby they have that we don't know?
You hit it on the head. Like, most people don't think Frankie Edgar is very funny and charismatic, because he's very quiet, and it seems as if he's shy. But oh man, he's a character and a half. He's a movie buff. He quotes movie lines. He's very, very hilarious. And it's almost like the same thing with Chris. He's very humble. So I think sometimes that kind of hurts him, because he's not like me. I just been this way. I've been brash. I've been outspoken since I've been playing. I feel like talking trash and stuff is fun. It's part of sports. It makes the fans interact and kind of get involved, and it builds an emotional attachment. Chris is very humble, but he's competitive as any. But he's also very funny as well. He's sarcastic, and he's just got a really great personality that I don't think always gets reflected, just because he's very conservative. But when you're comfortable around somebody, as comfortable as we are around each other, it's a non-stop comedy show. If there was a camera in our gym from our training sessions between Ray Longo, Matt Serra, Volante, and Chris, oh my gosh, this kid might have a sitcom by now. He's literally hilarious. We had dinner the other night, kind of to celebrate everything between Chris, me, Volante, the coaches. We start whipping out cameras. Volante takes off his no shirt nation things he has, and he's wearing Chris's wife's vest, and it's just a nonstop comedy show. But not many people get to kind of see that side, which it is what it is. But if people get to know him, there's if you don't like him, then something's wrong with you.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today, Eddie. Obviously look forward to seeing the progression of your career within the UFC, and congratulations again on a fantastic win the other week, and for the team as well. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, Eddie. Appreciate it.